Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar. We are excited to have you for the IMA Student Series Accounting and Finance Professional Panel. This is the 9th time that we've had a panel session like this, and each time the turnout and feedback has been great. We are glad to have you all with us today, and we are looking forward to the discussion. Quick housekeeping notes, this session is being recorded, and we will be sending out the recording after the webinar. Everybody should be muted upon entry, but we encouraged you while you're listening to either myself speak in the beginning or as our panelists are asking questions, we want you to feel part of this discussion. So anything that you're thinking about, type your questions in the chat function. The thing that I do ask is don't send them directly to me because I'm not able to monitor everything and move the slides. But please, that's what makes these panel events more interesting is really the questions that come from you, the students. And that's why our panelists volunteer their time because they want to talk to you as they wish that maybe someone would have talked to them when they were a student. So your questions really kind of gear where our conversation takes us. And I hope you get everything out of this presentation. Here is my contact information. So my name is Mary Patterson, and I will be your host and moderator for tonight's webinar. My role with IMA is the Senior Manager of Academic Relations. I've been working for IMA for about 5 years now, and prior to that, I was also working with accounting and finance students probably for about over a decade, and I can truly tell you this is my passion. I love working with students. I love seeing you when you start out in your academic careers and then follow you on LinkedIn to see where your jobs are and what roles that you're doing. So please, at any time, if you have questions, email me, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's what I'm here to do, is to be your resource. So write down my email, and then even if you think of a question 2 days from now that you said, oh, I wish I would have asked that, feel free to send me that email. That's what I'm here to do, is help you. All right, let's go over our agenda for today. I will be giving a quick overview of IMA and the CMA and FMAA certification. Then we will get right into the panel discussion, where I will be asking our panelists several questions. And at the end, we will save some time to take questions from the audience. So please utilize the chat function to ask your questions. You don't have to wait till the end. Throughout the webinar, I have some team members that are monitoring the Q&A chat function. And so they'll be keeping track of questions that maybe we can cover at the end or even while it's going on. So if something pops in your head, just type it in that chat bar. Please do not, like I think I said this already, but please do not direct questions directly to me, as I do not always see the questions as I'm moderating. I also wanted to take a minute to show you how far along this webinar series has come. So this is our 9th installment of the Student Series webinar, and we received such great feedback from this program, which is why we continue to hold it. If you would like to play back recordings from previous sessions, you can visit IMA's YouTube page, and I put a QR code on the slide. And there will be recordings from previous sessions. So you can scan the QR code on the screen, and it will take you directly to IMA's Accounting College Toolkit page. I wanted to share some profiles of the panelists we've had in the past to give you an idea of the broad range of positions available for accounting and finance graduates. Now, this slide here doesn't include all of our past panelists, but we wanted to highlight a few companies and titles. So, for example, we had the fund and insurance accounting analyst at Tesla, DoorDash, which I'm sure a lot of you as college students utilize a lot. You can learn what a cost accounting manager does at DoorDash. We had someone from Nike who is a global operations manager. We've had someone from Amazon and Microsoft. And then I always thought it was neat. I had a big attendance to this student series when I had someone from Barstool Sports. I'm pretty sure you as students thought, wait a second, me being in accounting and finance, I can work for Barstool. And yeah, he is an accounting person, a finance. I think he started out as a finance major, and now he's the senior manager of FP&A and ad sales. I always try to have a diverse panel of both men and women. They all have their CMAs, but I also try to get some panelists that have CPA, CMA, and some other designations just to show you and expose you to more of what you can do with your accounting and finance degree. So I really recommend going to our website and listening to some of our other student series to give you a really good idea of what opportunities are out there for you as a student. So let's talk about the Institute of Management Accountants. I know some of you are familiar with IMA and some of you have never heard about IMA. You're just doing this for extra credit. I totally get that. But IMA is a global association with more than 140,000 members who are accounting and finance professionals working in business. Our organization has more than 300 professional and student chapters located in cities and campuses around the world. By joining IMA, students and professionals have the opportunity to not only network with accounting and financial professionals in your area, but it also opens the door to network with professionals all over the world. So I always like to make sure that I highlight that with the IMA, we are a global organization. It is not just something that's based in the US. When you become a student member of IMA, you're then connected to people in accounting and finance located all over the globe, which I think is pretty neat. IMA offers for accounting and finance educators, and as well as it offers the 3 globally recognized certification, which is the FMAA, Financial and Managerial Accounting Associate, CMA, Certified Management Accountant, and the CSCA, which gets you certified in strategy and competitive analysis. With the addition of the FMAA certification, along with the CMA and CSCA, IMA is reinforcing its position as the foremost association for professionals working in accounting and finance roles in industry. So this slide highlights the 3 certifications offered by IMA. Today's webinar will really just mostly focus on the CMA, since all of our panelists have their CMA, but I also will give you a brief introduction to the FMAA, since it is our newest certification that was just started in 2024 and really is a great certification for students before they go into the CMA. So I'll make sure you have a little bit of information about the FMAA as well. Talking about IMA student membership benefits, there are more than 130 student chapters located around the world. So I know for some of you, based on the schools that you were putting in the chat, that I know that some of you are part of student chapters on your campus. If you do not have a student chapter on campus, you can still become a student member of IMA, and I encourage you to look for your professional chapter in your area. I can talk to you, and this will even come up in our panel discussion, but our IMA members, like the panelists that are on this webinar, they want to connect with you and the students. They remember how it is, and they want to see this profession grow. So really, the networking aspect of IMA is one of the most powerful things that our organization has to offer. In addition to that, we have reduced membership fees and certification fees. We have competitions and scholarships that are available to students, which I will talk to you more about. And then we also have a few professional development courses that IMA feels should be free for student members. 2 of those that I want to highlight for you, and I know some of you might already be taking these courses in your classes that maybe your professors have assigned them, but we have 2 courses, the IMA Data Analytics and Visualization Fundamental Certificate, and the IMA RPA series. So both of these courses were developed for our professional members, but since we value our student members so much, and we think these courses are so good to help you as you progress through your career, we decided to make these courses free for our student members. So these courses are meant to give you some foundational understanding of the topics. The IMA Data Analytics course is about 9 hours long, and you do get a certificate once you complete it. You also get a digital badge, which you can post to your LinkedIn, which helps market you to potential employers. The RPA series is about 2 hours long, and again, you will get a digital badge and certificate to post to your LinkedIn. In addition to these courses, we have several free courses for students in technology analytics, soft skills, leadership courses, and more. So really, when you become a member of IMA, even as a student, use that membership to the best of your ability. Start making those connections with other members, and then take advantage of all the resources that IMA has to offer you. Going a little bit more deeper into the certifications, this kind of highlights how the certifications fit with your career. So for a lot of the students on here, you were in the first two certifications, FMAA and CMA. The FMAA was developed as a foundational certification. So those who would be taking this certification would be students looking to showcase fundamental knowledge or business professionals who need a stronger understanding of accounting and finance topics. For students, it is geared towards those that are more early in their academic career, looking to gain confidence and knowledge in the fundamentals of accounting and finance. And then the CMA is geared towards students and graduates of four-year colleges and universities who are probably accounting or finance majors, but I have had students that have been economics majors who have passed the CMA. I had one of my panelists 2 years ago, or maybe last year. She was a biology student, and then really found a love for numbers, started working for Johnson & Johnson, and she got her CMA. And then it's also for those that maybe are on the CPA track, but then they know they're going to transition into industry and need to learn more of that management accounting side of the business. That is also where the CMA comes into play. Here's just a general overview of the FMA certification, and it shows you what is tested on this certification. So it covers 5 key content domains. So when you look at this slide, I'm sure if you've at least had 1 year, and especially if you've had 2 years of accounting courses, you've covered all of this. So general accounting and financial management, financial statement preparation and analysis, planning and budgeting, cost management and performance metrics, and then professional ethics. So this certification, it's an easy lift for students. It's only a 2-hour exam, which might be less than some of your final exams. Only 80 multiple choice questions. You do not have to be an IMA member or have your bachelor's degree. So this is something that you can do after your sophomore year of school. The preparation time for it is approximately 50 hours, depending how much you know certain material. The exam cost is just under $300, and it is available to take in January, May, and September. Since it is a certification, so I know for a lot of you students, and probably when you looked at our panelists, it seems like all professionals have all these letters next to their names. This is a way for you to start earning those letters even as a student. So you will need to have 15 hours of CPE education and then renew your certification each year. And then this is the CMA, which is really what we're going to focus on and what all of our panelists have. So the CMA is comprised of 2 exams. Each exam part is 4 hours long with 100 multiple choice questions, followed by 2 30-minute essay scenarios. So as you look at this slide, you will probably see this is what you are covering in your courses, especially part 1, financial planning, performance, and analytics. Goes over external financial reporting decisions, planning, budgeting, forecasting, performance management, cost management, and internal controls, which a lot is what you're going to hear from our panelists. that they do almost every day within their career. So that's the other good thing about the CMA certification. Not only is it testing you things on what you're learning, but it's also testing you on things that you're going to be doing once you start working. And then part two, strategic financial management. I always say this is kind of that finance piece of the CMA, where it goes into more corporate finance, decision analysis, investment decisions. So one thing that I think the CMA is great for students is if you're just an accounting major, but you probably saw a lot of the titles that you're looking for jobs have finance in it. This is a great way to show that you have that finance side of the business, and vice versa. If you're just a finance major, what a great way to show that you understand all the ins and outs of the accounting part of business by passing the CMA. Thing that I want you to take away from this is that you can do this. Both the FMAA and the CMA can be done while you're still in school, so you don't have to wait till you graduate. And then we do have student scholarships available to you to take either the CMA at no cost or the FMAA at no cost. You do have to be nominated by a professor. If you're not sure what professor on your campus does the nominations, feel free to reach out to me and I will make sure that they get the proper link to set you up for the certificate or for the scholarship. Best news, each school is able to receive at least 3 scholarships. And if your professor nominates you for the scholarship, you automatically get it. It's the easiest scholarship that you can get, and it is a great way to be able to take the exams at no cost. A couple just other events that we have coming up for students. We have the Student Leadership Conference, which is happening in November 7th through the 9th. I hope some of you that are on this webinar plan to attend it. We have a lot of great tours available and speakers. It's going to be a great time in California. I also wanted to make sure that students knew about our case competition. So our case competition is open to teams of students of 3 to 5 students from each school, where you can look at our case, submit your PowerPoint presentation. We go through a couple reviews of all the cases that are submitted, and we pick the top 4 teams to come to our annual conference to present in front of our CEO and a couple other senior leadership teams of IMA and some companies. And our annual conference this year is in Scottsdale, Arizona in June. So please go to our website, look at what the case is. I think a lot of students are going to enjoy it this year. It is about NBA player acquisition. So looking at cost benefit analysis and visualizations and using data to identify players who will round out your team's roster and better your chances of bringing home the NBA championship ring. I'm excited about this case. I think last year it was about a garden, and that wasn't that exciting, but I think this one's going to be a little bit better. So get a couple of your friends together and put together some information for the case. All right, so hopefully you have some information here. I don't want to take up too much time of me talking. I think it's now time for us to meet our panel. So for today's webinar, we have a fantastic panel of accounting and finance professionals joining us to share their insights and experience. So let's get started and meet our panelists. And as you can see on this slide, you will notice that they were all CMA. So first we have Andrew Murphy. Andrew, feel free to give a wave. Who is a corporate controller at MobileOne LLC, and he is also president of the San Diego chapter. Next, we have Noleena Booker, who is a finance manager at Anchor Glass Container Corporation. Our third panelist is Marcelo Volp, Director of Finance, Operations, and Projects at Marriott International. And then finally, we have Christian Hildebrandt, Audit and Assurance Manager at Deloitte. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can, maybe I won't stop share. All right, so let's get into our questions. You ready, panelists? Ready to have fun with this? All right. So our first question is, would you briefly describe your career after graduating undergrad? and provide some details about your current company and your responsibilities within your role. So, for example, I'm sure everyone is familiar with Marriott, but they might not necessarily understand the role an accounting or finance person does within the company. So, we'll first start with Christian. You're going to start us off. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Yeah, so I went to Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, and I graduated with my bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting there. And subsequent to that time, I took a role with Deloitte in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona to be specific. And so I've been at the firm now 5 years, and I took a role specifically in the audit and assurance business. So the way Deloitte is structured, for those of you who have not heard of Deloitte before, it's the largest professional services firm in the world. And the way it's structured is it's broken up into different businesses, one being consulting, we have tax, audit, and advisory. And the audit practice specifically focuses on financial statement audits for our clients. So, for instance, any companies that are traded on the stock market, those could be our clients, and we perform audits for them for their filings that they have to do as required by the SEC. And so the way my career looked as I started here at the firm right out of campus, I was a campus hire, and then I have since moved up through the firm to different levels. It's very structured, and in each year you're kind of progressing on to the next level. And usually around year 5 is when you get promoted to manager, and that is the current level that I'm at now. So I'm in charge of making sure we're staying on track with our timelines for our audits and managing all of the team members that we have on the audits.
Great. All right, Noleena, tell us about your career.
Good evening. So I graduated from Miami University of Ohio for my undergraduate degree. And after graduation, I was accepted into a finance leadership development program with a glass manufacturing company. And while I was with that company, I completed a few different roles. One was internal auditor. I was a financial analyst. I did a plant accountant role and then a plant controller role. In my current role, I'm a finance manager, as she stated earlier, for Anchor Glass Container Corporation. And I oversee the treasury operations, the compliance and risk management areas within the company. And within treasury operations, I oversee the cash management team where we are responsible for ensuring the company has enough cash to operate and run the business. For the risk management area, I oversee the insurance renewal process. And then for the compliance area, I oversee and monitor that our company is compliant with our government reporting, such as like economic incentives, business license reporting, that we're compliant with our debt agreements and credit agreements that we have with our lenders and creditors and investors.
Wow. So that's something that I've noticed that a lot of students have been looking for. So you were in an finance leadership and development program. Is that something that you looked for when you were looking for jobs, or did that just kind of happen with what you were finding?
That was something that I was looking for when I was looking for a job outside of undergraduate, because I didn't quite know which way I wanted to go in my career. And I felt that if I did an FODP type program, it gave enough diversity to allow me to kind of explore different career paths and then eventually decide where I wanted to go within my career. So that's why I decided to go that route versus maybe picking one specific.
Yeah, I love that companies are doing that now. I think it gives students a really good idea of like, okay, what do I actually like about this company and what can I do in it? And then you can really bounce around and see different parts of it. So I love that. Marcelo, we'll go to you.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity and hello everyone. I'm from Argentina, I'm not from the US. So in my home country, it is common to work while you are studying for your undergrad. So I started my career very young. when I was like 17 years old in a manufacturing company as a AR analyst, like accounts receivable. Then I transitioned to external auditing, like Grecian, but to a company called Brand Thornton that is also in the US. And then I stayed there for almost 4 years. And then I moved to another company that is KPMG, that is very famous in the same field. In 2011, I took a gap year. So I went, spent my time in New Zealand, and then I traveled around Asia and Europe. Yeah. And when I returned to Argentina again, almost 2 years later, I joined Manpower Group. That is another American company that specializes in human resources services. So at Manpower, I work in the South American regional office. So that was my first role in the finance discipline. Prior to that was more accounting. And in that company, I supported all countries for South America in all accounting and finance functions. Then in 2015, I received an offer from Starbucks Hotels. So I moved to another industry that was very, for me, was very exciting because it was hospitality. And then when I was working there as a finance manager, the company was acquired by Marriott. That was 1 year later. So at that time, my position was going to disappear in Buenos Aires. So at that time, I transitioned to a role as an internal auditor for the Caribbean and Latin America regional office that is based in Miami. So at that time, it was 2017. I moved to the US. So the first year was a lot of traveling because I needed to, perform audits to all the hotels in Latin America. I love traveling, so it was like the perfect combination. But like a year later, a little bit tired of so much traveling, I moved to a new position in the reporting and analytics team. A couple of years ago, I transitioned to my current role that is focused on projects for the same region, the Caribbean and Latin America, but that are focused on the finance discipline. So yeah, it's a very like the job is a lot of fun. Yeah.
That is impressive. And that's something I also tell to students. I think when they're in their studies and they're in their classes, they almost can't see and how much their career can go in different paths. And then also, I always say having that accounting and finance, because it is the language of business. And then once you get a certification like the CMA or the CPA, that really is your global passport. So if you are someone that likes to travel, I mean, even if they're American companies, there are locations all over the world. There's manufacturing all over the world. And then this really, by you having this background, opens the door for you as a student. Sometimes they can't see that when they're just studying or in the classroom, but then that's why I like to hear from other people to say like, no, this is what I've done. I took 2 years off and lived in New Zealand and I'm still okay. Like that's the stuff that I love about these student series. All right, last but not least, definitely not least, let's go to you, Andrew.
Hey all, pleasure to be here. So yeah, my story is interesting as well. Like Marcelo, I worked during my undergrad and I graduated from San Diego State, but I worked at Bennigan's. Have you guys ever heard of Bennigan's? I might be dating myself. It's like a TGI Fridays out here in San Diego. And then I worked at PF Chang's, and so restaurants, right? And I graduated with my degree in economics. And there was this job posting for a company that did accounts payable for restaurants and supermarkets. And I thought, well, I know restaurants. I was a server in a restaurant, so I can do this, no problem. And I got my degree in economics. So I started off doing accounts payable, and that term basically means that I was collecting all the invoices that were coming in for all the vendors for the restaurants. I was paying them, I was keeping track of them. And then my role just kind of started to step up from that point. I then started doing bank reconciliation, financial statement analysis, basically telling the restaurant owners, hey, you're making money or you're losing money, and this is how we can fix it by doing day part analysis and different things like that. And then I started to sell the service, right? So I was now going around pounding pavement, knocking on restaurants' doors and saying, hey, I have this service. It's a group of people. We have this really nice ERP, which is the accounting software. We'll run you on it. We'll give you weekly reporting, blah, blah, blah. So I did that for a long time. So consulting and propping up our business with new sales. And then from there, I met two individuals, entrepreneurs, and they owned a company called MobileOne LLC. And what that is a franchise of T-Mobile. So I became the controller for T-Mobile, basically on the West Coast. We have 200 stores. I saw on the map earlier, a lot of stores, and some of the people that are out there. We got a lot of stuff in Washington, Oregon, South Dakota, Arizona. We're in about 14 states. And so I do the P&Ls. I steer the ship for 200 stores. And then these two guys also have an airplane that I'm doing the accounting for, which is a whole other thing. It's interesting for sure. And then we also just started a pickleball franchise that started in Arizona and Tucson. So we got 10 stores, and basically we took Bed Bath and Beyonds that were closing down, and we hollowed them out to like a vanilla shell and threw like 18 pickleball courts in there. It's super interesting. Our first one just opened up in Tucson on Saturday. So if you're in Arizona, go play pickleball. That's kind of my journey.
I love hearing that. Never thought pickleball would come up in this student series, but every time something different comes up. All right, let's move. So what motivated each of you to pursue a career in accounting and finance? And you can be honest. There might be students on the line that are kind of questioning. Maybe they just had their intermediate final and they're like, is this really for me? Like, am I an accounting and finance person? Just kind of, did you always know you wanted to be in accounting and finance, or did a class or internship, or what led you to this path? So Andrew, I thought it was interesting because you said you were an economics major. So how did you even get into that? So
yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I kind of fell into it, like economics was interesting to me because it's based on concepts, right? We don't really understand how the economy works. We just have all these models to try to help predict it. And that was interesting to me. And, I was looking for a job, right? And this restaurant AP job just kind of fell in my lap. But I do want to reiterate though, that an accounting and finance job, you can really work for a myriad of different businesses, right? Like every single business needs accounting. They need somebody to help them out there. So if you're really interested in breweries, or I'm actually doing the accounting for a movie on the side, like you can find that field that you like and then jump in and you can work with folks because everyone's going to need it. But yeah, I guess to go back and answer your question, for me personally, I kind of fell into it and then found out after falling into it that I liked it and that I could really explore these different avenues.
Perfect. How about you, Marcelo?
Yeah, in my case, my high school had a focus on accounting. I really enjoyed that subject compared to others. So, and I think in my case was easier as well. So that's why I wanted to maybe continue in accounting. But then something that I wanted to study economy at the beginning. But then during an internship in my last semester of the high school, I realized that, and talking with my colleagues in that company, I realized there are going to be more opportunities in the accounting and finance field. So for that reason, I I pursue a career in accounting. Yeah.
Love it. How about you, Noleena?
So I always knew I wanted to pursue a career in business, but I didn't know until after freshman year that I wanted to really go into the accounting route. And then it wasn't until after junior year that I decided I really wanted to look at opportunities that were specifically to like management accounting instead of public accounting. And what kind of like sparked that was actually a manufacturing controller. She had came to one of our advanced cost accounting classes to speak about her career path. And she was also with the IMA, and she had just sparked my interest in learning more. So I decided to attend the IMA Student Leadership Conference, where I interviewed and got accepted for an internship opportunity, which further influenced my decision to pursue a career in accounting and finance. So that's kind of my journey of what sparked
I love
manufacturing
that. Do you
accounting.
remember where the conference was?
I don't remember where the conference was. It was quite some time ago.
But that is, so I
But
like
it was
highlighting that.
great.
They are really
was great.
great. There are companies that come and do interviews. So I love hearing that story. I'm going to maybe make an article written about you now that I know that. So, and then last but again, not least, Christian, how about you?
So I come from a family of accountants. Both my parents are CPAs, and my three older siblings are in accounting as well. And so growing up, seeing the opportunities in a job in accounting was very eye-opening to me, and something that was important to me is I wanted to always have a stable career, something that I could always know I would have a job. If I ever, needed to change positions, that I'd be able to find something else easily and quickly. I have a wife and two boys, and providing for them. And so it's important for me to have a stable and safe career to be able to be that provider. And so accounting was perfect for that because there's never a shortage of needs in accounting. And I would say, even with all the buzz around AI and some of the changes happening with technology, even more, there is a need for accounts, especially CMAs, who think more strategically, because AI can do a lot of the number crunching and kind of the, all of that kind of busy work for us, but we still need people who are strategic thinkers to be doing the real value add work in accounting. And there will always be a need there for accountants. And that was the main reason I chose this role.
I love that. So will your two boys, will they be accountants as well? Pat, keep the torch going?
Remains to be seen, but hopefully.
I love that. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the actual CMA part of it and why you each decided to get your CMA. I know for the majority, I think, Christian, you probably got your CMA a little bit earlier in your career, but for the others on the panel, what made you get your CMA? What drove you to that? And is there anything about how you did it that you wish you could change? So Noleena, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I decided to get my CMA later in my career when I was a plant controller. At that point, I want to say I was maybe 2 years into my plant controller role, and I just felt like I needed something else to kind of just take me past just doing the day-to-day. I wanted to strengthen my technical skills and foundational skills to prepare myself for whatever next role was going to present itself to me. So I actually decided to study for the CMA while I went back to school for my MBA. And while I was researching about the CMA, that's where I found out that there was a scholarship opportunity to do the CMA. And that's the route that I decided to take, was to study for CMA while I was getting my MBA. But really, it was after college. If I had to do it all over again and I knew about the opportunity to get my CMA earlier in my career, I would have definitely taken it during college I would have had more time to study. And it's definitely much harder to study for certifications when you're a professional than when you have dedicated time as a student to study for those things.
Yeah, students never like to hear that. Trust me, once you start working, time just goes out the window. Like you are working and it goes quickly. So as students, you don't realize how much time that you have. All right, how about you, Christian?
Yeah, so I actually took both of the CMA exams during my senior year of school before I did my 1 year master's degree program. And I was a recipient of a CMA scholarship as well. I really enjoyed my managerial accounting class that I took, was very close with one of my professors, and he thought that I was a good fit for that scholarship and did that. And that was a huge blessing and benefit to me to have that. At the time, I was a very poor college student, and having that paid for and the exam fees, it really removed that barrier for me. I would say going back, even if I did not receive the scholarship, I would still find a way to pay for it and to make it happen, because being able to, while you're in school, studying the material, you're already in it. It makes it so much easier to study the incremental little bit more that you need to. Maybe the topics that aren't covered in some of your college courses that you need to brush up on for the exams. It's much easier doing it that way than, if I were to try to pick it up right now and remember all of the things that I would need to know for the exams. I would have to put a lot more effort into it. So I was very happy with the timing of the taking the exams. And then as soon as I had the enough work experience was when I applied and got my certificate.
Perfect. And yeah, so for those students on the line, you can take the CMA while you're still in school. So you don't have to wait till you get your bachelor's degree. It is something that you can do. We have a lot of students that do it like Christian. We have some students that start one section of the CMA. Maybe then they do the 4 sections of the CPA, and then at the end do the final section of the CMA. There's lots of different things that you can do, but the point is take advantage of it now while you're still a student. All right, Andrew, let's hear your story. When did you get your CMA?
Yeah, so I got my CMA sometime after I started working, right? So I'm at Flores Financial. I'm selling accounting software. I understand the nuts and bolts of accounting really, really well, right? So, but I wanted to get to that next level where I could work for a company and I could help steer the ship. Like Christian said, give them that value add. And so I needed to know more about finance. I needed to know more about strategic, accounting so that I could put them in a good position to succeed. And so that's when I kind of decided I wanted to do the CMA because it has a lot of finance in there. And I knew, and I'm sorry to my audit friends, that I did not want to do audit or tax because it does not interest me. But it's to each their own, and everyone has their own track, right? And the CMA to me was the best designation for where I wanted to go, and I wanted to work for a mid-sized to large company, and I wanted to be in a a CFO or a controller role. So that's why I decided to go for it. And it was because I was just getting, I'd already gotten to a specific point in my career where I knew I needed to just take the next step, basically.
Right. How was studying once you were already working?
Oh man, that was not fun because I also had a 1-year-old at the same exact time that I wanted to do my CMA. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have a baby. I'm gonna get the CMA exam. Up to that point, I didn't drink coffee, and then I was like, oh man, I think I'm gonna have to start drinking coffee. And so to study for the test, I would wake up before my baby would get up. So I get up around 4 a.m. and I would do, like an hour or two studying, baby, work, but got it done. Don't do that. Do it earlier.
Great. How about you, Marcelo? When did you get your CMA?
Yeah, it was when I was working, but the trigger was COVID-19. So I realized I was going to have more time to study. At that time, I didn't have kids. I couldn't socialize or go to the office. So I think that was one of the things that I got from COVID-19, my CMA certification, because I took both exams in 2020. So it was a lot, yeah. And I also wanted to get like a global certification to show both in the US, and if I sometime in the future I need to go to another country, hey, here I have this certification, and I think that it can help me to get a better job, right?
I love that. See, some good things could come out of that lockdown when we couldn't see our friends. You got a certification out of it. All right, let me get into another question. Andrew, so you are the president of the San Diego IMA chapter. We have a lot of students who are part of student chapters on campuses, and some students, they don't know anything about IMA. Can you tell them what an IMA professional chapter does and why you got involved?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the president down at the San Diego chapter. I got involved because, I was really happy with the certification after I got it and where it led me. And I thought, well, maybe I can reach out to other colleagues that have the certification and, create a type of forum where we can bounce ideas off each other and have an open discussion about things. And so kind of a day in the life of our chapter, we meet once a month. We put on events. We're putting on an event actually in SDSU on November 14th. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have people from all over different schools come, and there'll be a panelist like this. But so we do things for students, and then we also do things for our professional members, right? So when you get a designation like the CMA or the CPA, you have to take CPE, which is basically continuing education credits. I don't recall what it is for the CPA, but for the CMA, it's 30 credits per year. And so we offer talks and presentations where you can log in, and then we'll then issue you those CPE credits. And that's a really big benefit to our members because, we do it for free. You just pop on in and learn something and then get your credits. I decided to join it too, to build my professional network. And I really believe in some of the tenets of this, being a CMA. I think ethics is extremely important in business now, and in accounting. And that's something that we hold to a high standard. So it aligned with my values as well, and our members' values.
Great. And do you ever have any students that reach out to your professional member or professional chapter?
Yeah, so I actually went to I do student events at colleges, and I get students to join our board. We have 2 students on our board right now, which is awesome, and they're getting like just access to all of us that are on the board that are already CMAs and CPAs, and then they also get to help me out with the events and all that good stuff. So absolutely, I encourage that because it can be an eye-opening and good networking experience for those students.
Oh my gosh, and a great way to build leadership as well. And I know I met Noleena. We did an event in the Tampa area where we just hosted a dinner and brought together all of our members and some professors, and that's where I got to meet her. So really, even as students, you can reach out to the IMA and get involved, because I remember as a student, everyone tells you networking is so important. And I always say the joke like, well, I worked at a Dairy Queen. How am I gonna, meet people when I'm in college? The IMA is the perfect way to do that.
I will say for the students too, like if you find your local chapter, reach out and be like, hey, I want to go to student leadership conference. They have money, they have budget.
Yeah.
They can help you out. We're sending 2 of our students down to the student leadership conference, and I'm really stoked for them to go check it out. We're going to sponsor them, so that's another thing.
Love that. And I'm seeing some questions come through, and some people are sending me questions that are moderating. Please put questions into our panelists and we'll cover that. I want to ask Christian one, because I saw someone ask about the CPA and CMA. So according to IMA, about 20% of their CMA members are also CPAs, and they can be very complementary designations. Since you have both designations, can you expand on what credential is more beneficial, or how has having the CMA maybe made you stand out at Deloitte? Because people might not think, oh, you work at one of the big 4 accounting firms and you also have your CMA. So give some insight on that.
Yeah, and a big motivator for me, because I knew from the beginning that I wanted my CPA, but the CMA was something that I stumbled upon very pleasantly and found, because one thing I did want to do was differentiate myself and make it clear that I can do other things beyond just auditing. And so the CPA, I would say, it's a very important designation and is very well recognized. It's very helpful if you plan on having a career in tax or auditing, but is
Andrew
very well
didn't love that.
recognized. So yeah, so it's very helpful. But CMA I wanted for, diversity and just to show that I knew things beyond just the kind of those core tenets of accounting, the strategy, the finance, some of the managerial accounting, those other things that are also important and important, especially if I ever decided to leave public accounting and have a career at a company and be a CFO or something someday. Those are all very important skills that a CFO would need to have.
Great. I'm going to ask this question. I've asked this in another panel that I've done. What is something you didn't realize you would be doing a lot in your career that you never would have guessed as a student? So, Noleena, I'll start with you. Is there anything that you're kind of shocked that you do a lot in your career that probably students aren't aware of?
So as a student, I did enjoy Excel. That was one of my favorite classes. I didn't realize how much like I would use like just spreadsheets, which I love, but also a lot of PowerPoint presentations that I would create. I didn't realize that being a finance professional, you don't just do analytics, but you do a lot of presenting as well, depending on, I would say, depending on like what department you're talking to, they may ask you information. So you have to do data analytics, but then that second piece comes where there's a story that you have to tell. What is the message of the story? What does the numbers mean that you put together? That's very important. So I would say that's something I didn't realize as a student I would do a whole lot of, was just how much you have to present and how you have to be able to talk to finance professionals as well as non-finance professionals. A lot of the people that you will present to, they're not accountants. They're not finance majors. They may be typically engineers or HR or safety professionals, and you still have to be able to give them that information they need to be able to make a business decision that's important to the company, but be able to give it to them in a way that they understand.
I love that. And I think that also highlights, I forget who said it, that yes, there's so much AI and technology that's happening, but within business, you still need that personal aspect of it. And I know on one of my other panels, he said, I didn't realize how much I would be talking to our marketing department, with our budget and everything. And he says, boy, marketing people, they don't like numbers and their brains don't think that way. So I have to really explain it to them and the reasons behind everything, because I never thought I would be doing that. So I love that answer. How about you, Marcelo? Something you never thought as a student?
Yeah, in my case is work with a lot of new technologies. Like I work a lot with, Power BI or different data analytics tools that, and also I'm involved in other projects that it requires, to speak kind of the same language of IT people. And I think that every day is even more important. I think Noleena was saying, sometimes I have projects that are connected with HR, the HR discipline. They don't like numbers either. So they delegate everything to us, right? So that's an advantage. But yeah, the I think is, connecting with other disciplines. I'll try to speak their language. That's something that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, no, I love that, especially how you said with IT and how much
Yeah.
it seems like accounting and information technology, they're starting to
Yes.
work hand in hand. I'm sure a lot of students aren't realizing that. How about you, Christian? What did you not realize?
To continue the theme, I would say I write way more in my job than I ever thought I would. I thought I was going to be playing with numbers all the time, but there's so much business writing that is involved, and it's important to be able to clearly articulate your thoughts in a concise manner. And that takes practice, believe it or not. So that's something that you can work on while you're in school and will put you a leg up in the workforce when you go out if you're a clear communicator.
And I think all the professors and faculty on the call will also appreciate that. If you start working that as a skill with your concise responses and proper punctuation, I've heard that plenty of times, but it's true, just what you said, it's a skill. How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off what Marcelo said too. Software specialist, like my job right now really is managing software. Our enterprise resource planning system, our HRIS, our payroll platforms. Those are the things that as a controller that you're monitoring on a day-to-day basis and then helping people navigate through. Also too, just like an armchair therapist. If you have clients, they just, for some reason, they're like, oh, the accounting guy, I'll tell him about what happened to me last weekend and why, you know what I mean? Especially for the restaurants. I don't know if you guys get that in audit too, but it's just so interesting. People open up to you because you're handling such an important facet of their life that there's just this natural inclination to open up. But on a more relevant subject, software system.
All right, so the takeaways is you're doing a lot of Excel, a lot of PowerPoint. I agree. I just did one earlier today. I was working on 3 others, but I love that. So, and I think it's also important for students to know that everything that they're kind of doing right now, they are going to see it when they start working. So when your professor assigns a case or something that's involving Excel or Power BI, it is so it's going to help you prepare for when you start working. All right, so we are coming up at the top of the hour. And a lot of the questions that have come in, you've all touched upon it in a way, and I could probably talk to you all for probably another 30 minutes, but I know you have actual jobs and families and lives to get to. So I always like to end on this question. So remember, you're talking to students, maybe you're talking to your former self. What would your advice be to your younger self as a student? Or what do you want to tell students as they are in school and they are looking to their future? So Christian, I'll start with you.
More importantly than what you're learning in school is that you're learning how to learn. And I feel like so much of our careers, we're getting thrown into new situations, being asked new questions about things we've never heard of before. And if you're able to learn how to learn and you're able to research and come up with solutions and answers, that is a huge benefit for your career.
Great. How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I would say, I would tell my younger self, don't be afraid to fail, whether it's a test or a job that you didn't get, because every time you fail, you learn something about yourself and you can further your career that way. I'm a good example of that. I took the CMA exam, oh man, 4 times. Each part twice. And it was hard for me, but I kept at it and I learned so much about those exams because I took them 4 times. But it's don't give up, and if you have a goal that you want to achieve, continue to stick with it.
I love it. Now you're president of one of our chapters, so it paid off.
I don't know who let me do this.
Yeah. Marcelo, how about you?
Yeah, I like what Andre just said. I think the most important thing is to be consistent, and if you don't like what you are doing in your daily job, like try to do something else. That happened to me, and sometimes it took me more than it should do. So I think make faster decisions, and if you don't like something in your current company, try to move to another company because there are plenty of opportunities. And maybe I was not aware of all of these certifications when I was younger. So maybe study the certifications now before having a family.
Yeah, that's why we do these, so they learn about all of them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, last but not least, Noleena, what would you like to say to your younger self or to the students?
I would say be inquisitive. Take advantage of every opportunity. It's okay to not know what you want to do. what is most important is that you get those experiences to find out what you like and what you don't like. It will help you narrow down what direction you want to go. For the introverts, I would say there is a finance and accounting professional in every industry, so don't be afraid to reach out to them to learn more, and use the IMA as a resource because they have a lot of resources and things that they can offer students.
Great. I want to thank our panelists so much. Again, I could keep talking to you. I know just from some students sending me messages, like they are loving this. They usually only get to hear about CPAs and the public accounting track. And I always like to have a mixture. And I think even having Christian here who has their CMA, you know, he knows he wants to transition out eventually, maybe to that CFO role. I love that, Andrew, you have such an entrepreneurial spirit, which I think a lot of students are very much motivated to see that and how different your career has been. Noleena, I know a lot of students are going to go into manufacturing or working as a controller position. And Marcelo, definitely the fact that you've traveled and you're a global person, but still working for an American company. I think we have a really good mixture of panelists, and I can't thank you enough for giving us your time. So yes, I have been recording this presentation, and I will be sending it out. Usually comes out within the next 24 hours. So I will send it to everyone that's registered. Thank you. I know we had the hurricane, and I'm so glad that 2 of our panelists made it through unscathed. Thank you for all readjusting your schedules and to the students. This has been wonderful. So thank you so much for doing this, and please reach out to me if anyone has any other questions. So I'm going to